went to the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. I was A Company. I had the 1st platoon. And that was the hottest spot on the whole division front. It was the highest point, and every big wheel from the Navy or the Marine Corps came up to see what was going on where my people were. And
so you were land-based this time. You weren't on ship.
Yeah,
okay.
I was on the regular amphibious forces, and we dug holes in the ground. There were still corpses all around, but we'd driven these people off. And they kept coming at my segment of the line, which couldn't have been more than 50 yards. And I had 36 guys to do that with. Well, plus I had machine gunners too. They were attached. But we'd get into those. They'd come up there at night. It was a reconnaissance outfit for North Koreans. They weren't Chinese. And the North Koreans were a lot bloodier and much more ambitious in their fighting. They came up there and they were trying to get through the lines, and we'd shoot them up every time. And we gradually added wire. And my best buddy, I've got a picture of him here. He was a lawyer too. And he was in the same boat I was, and he was in charge of the mortars in this company. So every time I needed help, I got the mortars on there. Why, I'd use the phone and get him and start getting what I wanted. And the machine guns were attached, so I controlled when they fired. But we'd just fight those people off, and then have to go out the next day and bury them. And I would ask the battalion commander if we couldn't make some arrangement to have those people come and pick up their own corpses and take them home. He said, no, we don't want to do that. And we had a couple of Koreans attached to us that were laborers, essentially. They dug a lot of our holes for us, and so they had to bury the dead, and they just hated that. They didn't want to be anywhere near a dead body. I had to practically drive them to it. Well, our guys ended up doing most of it, but I took patrols out there and wandered around looking for trouble. And I remember one night there was a big bunch of these Koreans came up there. You couldn't tell how many. It was dark. We had our field of fire cleared about 50 yards, and they'd stay on the edge of that in the brush timber. And then they'd try to creep up through the wire and all. And we'd blow them away. But they were really pushing us. Right at the 60 millimeter mortars, that's ours, that I could control. And I had the 81 millimeters, which were controlled by battalion. And I had the artillery keeping us lit up so we could halfway see something. Boy, the old noise was really getting to be something. Grenades, the whole bit going off. And I called back, got on the phone and called my friend Fred back at the mortars, and I said, Fred, can you give us any more fire? He said, what do you mean? He says, we've shot everything except the swabs. But anyway, we held them off and cleaned up the mess the next day. And then the commandant came up one time. There was a huge mountain across from us, which meant they were looking down on us all the time. It was across the Soyang River. And he looked up there at that thing, the commandant. And he thought, he looked around, looked in the valley, and he said, you know, we need that hill over there. And everybody just sort of froze up. Geez, I mean, the top of it was 4 miles away. But anyway, I heard later that he went back to the headquarters battalion of the division, and he went down to look at the prisoners that were back there. The reconnaissance company of the division ran there. There was a kind of a collection spot until they could get enough of them to ship them to the south end to the prisoner of war camps. And they knew that a couple of weeks ahead of time that the commandant was going to be there. So they had taught the Marines hymn to all these prisoners who didn't have the faintest idea what they were singing. And the commandant showed up, and they had these clowns sing the Marines hymn and throw their hats in the air, and the commandant just broke up.